Hi, I'm Laura Whitburn. I teach anatomy at the Bundoora campus.
In this video, we're going to talk about the somatic sensory pathways from the face. So we talked about the DCML pathway and the lateral spinothalamic pathway and how they travel from the body, from the neck down, up to the primary somatosensory cortex. Now we're going to talk about the two equivalent pathways that we have for the face, the skin of the face. And I've called these pathways Pathway 1 and Pathway 2. They don't actually have particular names, but these are the names I'm going to refer to them as. I've also color-coded them because Pathway 1 carries the same modalities as the DCML pathway. So it carries tactile discrimination, conscious proprioception, and vibration. So I'm going to draw it in blue just like I drew the DCML pathway. Pathway 2 you can think of as the equivalent of the lateral spinothalamic pathway because the modalities it carries is the same. So I'm going to draw it in green because that's how I drew the lateral spinothalamic pathway. Now, just like those other pathways and any somatic sensory pathway, there will be 3 neurons, starting with the GSA. The GSA will synapse with a second-order neuron. The second-order neuron will decussate straight away and travel to the thalamus, synapsing with a third-order neuron, which will then travel from the thalamus to the primary somatosensory cortex. But as I mentioned before, this time, these pathways, because they're coming from skin of the face, they don't come in via a spinal nerve. They come in via the trigeminal nerve, which is cranial nerve number 5. So I've just drawn the trigeminal nerve here, attaching to the side of the pons. The trigeminal nerve has a funny bulge at the beginning of it. This bulge is called the trigeminal ganglion. You can think of it as the equivalent of the dorsal root ganglion. So this is where the GSA cell bodies are going to live. So let's start with Pathway 1. Here's the GSA that has travelled in from the skin of the face through the trigeminal nerve, leaving its cell body in the trigeminal ganglion. That GSA then synapses in a structure in the pons known as cranial nerve 5's main sensory nucleus. This is where it will synapse with the second-order neuron. The first thing the second-order neuron will do is decussate and then travel up to the thalamus. In the thalamus, it will synapse with a third-order neuron, and that third-order neuron will travel over to the primary somatosensory cortex, first going through the internal capsule here, but this time through the genu of the internal capsule, then through the corona radiata, and then ending in the primary somatosensory cortex. And we can see it's going to the face region of the primary somatosensory cortex. Pathway 2 is slightly different in the course that it takes. It starts again with a GSA, which comes in via the trigeminal nerve, leaving its cell body in the trigeminal ganglion. But that GSA actually ducks down into the medulla, and it synapses here in a structure known as cranial nerve 5's spinal nucleus. Here it synapses with a second-order neuron, and now we follow the same pattern. The first thing the second-order neuron does is decussate, then travel up to the thalamus where it synapses with the third-order neuron. The third-order neuron travels via the internal capsule, via the corona radiata, and then to the primary somatosensory cortex, again to the face region. So there is an implication of the different course that these two pathways take down here where they diverge from one another. It means that if someone has damage or injury to perhaps their medulla, it might only be one side of the medulla, they may only lose the modalities that are carried via Pathway 2, whilst Pathway 1's modalities will be unaffected. So someone may have a tumour in the medulla. They may lose the sense of temperature or nociception from their face, but tactile discrimination, conscious proprioception and vibration may be unaffected. I'd like you to now test your knowledge by having a go at answering the following true or false questions. For each answer that you'd give, I'd like you to justify why you've given that answer. You can post your ideas on the discussion forum. I'd then like you to have a go at this question. Here is the same image we've been using to draw our somatic sensory pathways for the face. You can see the trigeminal nerve over here on the right-hand side, and I've now extended this drawing to include the 3 branches of the trigeminal nerve. I've also drawn the trigeminal nerve attaching to the left-hand side of the pons. So I'd like you to draw the neural pathway that carries temperature sensation from the left side of the jaw. I've already started this drawing for you, you can see here. However, I need you to add the missing neurons to the diagram, as well as label all structures that the neurons have travelled through or synapsed in, including the correct branch of the trigeminal nerve. I also want you to indicate which pathway you have drawn and what modalities that pathway carries. Again, you can post your ideas on the discussion forum.